You shine so bright. So happy you're here. I think we all know each other. I'm Andrea Recht. I'm a practitioner here. Like I said earlier, it felt like Rev should be here and I should have been lighting the candles, but it is what it is, and here we are, and I'm delighted to be here with you in this way. Happy to see old friends, happy to be with new friends. My daughter surprised me with my two little grandkids who are running around somewhere and will probably be disruptive, but let's not put that out there. They're going to be perfect angels. I just know it, because I know my daughter had a long talk with them on the way here. So, welcome to a new theme for the month. Welcome to February. There's an R in there that surprises me often. February. Happy Black History Month this month. We're honoring the contributions that Blacks have made to the labor force, happens to be the theme for this year. And happy Groundhog's Day. Yes, it is. And Phil, I can't think of his last name. I don't know how to say it. Does anybody? Say it again? Okay, that one. He said that it's going to be cold for a while longer. Yes, he did this morning. And I can't remember if he saw his shadow or he didn't see his shadow, but we're going to be in for a little bit more cold weather. In fact, I think we're going to have some rain next week. We could have used it during the fires, right? So we have a new theme for this month. The theme for the month is radical interconnectedness. And the topic for today is emptiness, the wonder of interbeing. The wonder of interbeing. I wonder if we could start, however, with just this affirmation. So I'll say it, and then you can repeat it after me, if you will. I embrace my connection with all life.
I embrace my connection with all life.
Yeah, once more with more feeling. I embrace my connection with all life. Yes. I think that sort of sets the tone for the talk. But I want to share a really quick story before I dive into this topic. I took my grandson to big day out. We went to IHOP yesterday. And we noticed in the booth next to us, there was a very, very elderly woman who was sitting there having pancakes by herself. She looked pretty frail, and I felt so connected to her in a certain kind of way that made me kind of resonate with how it must feel to be lonely. That was my interpretation, and I don't know if it was accurate or not. But I felt, I even said to my grandson, I hope I'm not alone so much when I'm old and, I mean, I'm already old, but when I'm old and fragile or more vulnerable than I already am. And he said to me, and I felt very, very connected to this woman. And my grandson said, Nona, maybe we could buy her breakfast. I thought, who are you? Because he's so obnoxious sometimes, this 14-year-old boy. And so I thought, wow, what a great thing, Ryder. That's a great thing. And so I turned to her and I said, Miss, I hope you don't mind it, but we'd like to buy your breakfast. And she kind of, she was a little bit gruff at first, and she said, oh, no, like, you don't have to do that. But I had noticed that she took out a white envelope, a regular envelope with her money in it. And I got the sense that that was her money for the month. And then she said to me, well, I said, we'd really like to be able to buy your breakfast. She had 2 pancakes, and a cup of coffee for $10. And finally she said, well, okay, that would be nice, because then I could use this money for something else. And it was just this sweet moment of feeling interconnected, right? Feeling connected in a way that I don't always feel. Because sometimes it feels like we live in a very competitive world that is also sometimes divided and divisive. And sometimes it feels like division is encouraged and separation. And I'm all in that, man. When I play ping pong with my grandson, it's like it is competitive. But there comes with that a sense of, I'm better than you. Separateness, right? And we're seeing the dismantling of the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the federal government, for sure. I think they're trying to institute it, dismantle it in schools and colleges. And there is an essential unity connecting all things, not just us, but all things. I mean, this is the fundamental basis for the science of mind and spirit teaching, right? Is oneness. There is no separation. Separation is an illusion. We are all expressions of the same divine source, indivisible and interconnected. Now, this idea is not new to the science of mind and spirit, as you know. It has been proclaimed by mystics and philosophers and teachers throughout the ages. We're learning about that in the class that Reverend Nancy referenced, From Whence We Came. And we're going back and seeing that the New Thought movement has its roots in antiquity. Before I forget, let me recognize my granddaughter, Skylar, who helped me with the slideshow, as she always does. Not this one. This little one could probably do it too. But the older one helped me with my slideshow. And this time she was getting a little annoyed with me. More slides, Nona? So she sort of showed me how to do it, so maybe next time I can do it. But check it out, Marcus Aurelius. All things are interwoven, a sacred bond uniting them into the oneness of truth. Plotinus. All things depend on each other. Everything breathes together. I love that image. Let's all take a breath together. Everything breathes together. Lao Tzu. Filled with infinite possibilities and one with the dust. The Tao unites the world into one whole, like a deep pool that never dries up. And the Buddha. In separateness lies the world's greatest misery. I don't know about you all, but when I'm struggling with something, feeling less than, feeling left out, feeling like pour me a drink, it's usually stemming from a sense of separateness. I don't know about you all, but that's true for me. And then more currently, we have teachers like Eckhart Tolle, who says, when you let go of the idea of being a separate self, you experience the oneness of all life. You realize that everything is connected to everything else, and that you are not separate from the whole. And our own Ernest Holmes, who consolidated all these ideas into this teaching that we call the science of mind and spirit, There is a divine unity underlying all life. This unity is the law of life. The individual and the universal are one. This realization of unity is the key to freedom. Freedom from what? Fear, doubt, worry, depression, angst, loneliness. And then finally, John Lennon. I am he, as you are he, as you are me, and we are all together. I am the Eggman. I am the walrus. That's why there's a picture of a walrus, by the way. And what of this idea of emptiness and the wonder of interbeing? I often thought about emptiness as a loneliness. I used to think of it as something that was lacking. It felt like I needed to fill it. And I tried. Boy, did I try. Sometimes I still do, with different substances. So I used to try to fill it with drugs and alcohol and men and sex and, ooh, sorry. Now I try to fill it with ice cream. Sometimes. I didn't think of it as a wellspring from which everything finds form. And I wish Margot was here because she could tell us about sitting in front of a blank canvas. Or the writer who sits in front of a blank page or a blank screen. Or a sculptor who sits in front of a block of marble with no form, and then everything is created from that space. It's not a void. Emptiness in itself is not a void. It is the formless, invisible potential of all life. It is the eternal presence, always present yet always unseen, from which everything emerges and to which everything returns. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk who just transitioned in January of 2022, during the Vietnam War, he was very outspoken about the war, and he was actually exiled from Vietnam and ended up in France, where he started this monastery, a Buddhist monastery. So when I took the practical mysticism class years ago down at Agape, we had, at the end of the 6, 7, 8-week class, however long it was, we had an assignment to do a 3-minute presentation on a mystic of our choosing. At the same time, I was planning a trip to France, the south of France, to visit my friend who lives there. And it just so happens I chose Thich Nhat Hanh as my mystic to present on. And then I discovered while I was researching him that he has this monastery in southwestern France. And so I reserved a spot for myself to spend a week there in conjunction with my trip to visit my friend in France. And, looking back on it, it feels surreal, but, I got to sit in meditation with Thich Nhat Hanh and listen to his Dharma talks and do walking meditations with him. Not just me and him, there were hundreds of other people. But it was quite the experience. And he coined this term, interbeing. He's credited with this idea, and he described emptiness as a state of interconnectedness and fullness rather than a lack or a void. Emptiness means to be full of everything, but empty of a separate existence. We are here to awaken from our illusion of separateness. And then this, which I never considered, but it's so powerful. When you look at a flower, you can see the cloud, the sky, the soil, the sunshine, the rain, the earth. The flower cannot exist without them. This is the nature of interbeing. What we think of as separate or empty really isn't. Not at all. It's a dynamic something that expresses and has the potential to express as all form. The essence of being. I love that idea of being full of everything, but empty of a separate existence. And when I think we're mindful and still and intentional, we can see that everything, everywhere, every person, every flower, every tree, every speck of dust, it's all interwoven into this web of existence, and we're all threads in this beautiful tapestry of life. Alan Watts said that the experience of emptiness is not an absence, but the presence of everything, the fullness of all things in their interdependent relationship, interbeing. Thich Nhat Hanh considered interbeing to be a practice. And the energy of mindfulness is essential to this practice. And I think that it serves to bring, like it did for me and my grandson at IHOP, to bring forth a greater sense of compassion and kindness. Well, when I left the restaurant that day, I said to the lady who was seating people, I said, "Miss, I just want to tell you, our waitress was so nice." And she said, "Oh, thank you for telling us." Somehow, preparing for this talk has taken me personally to another level of compassion and kindness. And I said to my grandson when we left the restaurant, just, because he can be mean sometimes. He teases these two little ones relentlessly. But I said to him, just one act of kindness towards someone can really change. Yeah, who said that? Yeah, my daughter. Go figure. To practice mindfulness and to look deeply into the nature of things is to discover the true nature of interbeing. There we find peace and develop the strength to be in touch with everything. With this understanding, we can easily sustain the work of loving and caring for the earth and for each other for a long time. I found this piece by Thich Nhat Hanh. And actually what I found was an adaptation of this piece written by Thich Nhat Hanh called Litany for Peace. And I adapted that. So this is an adaptation of something that Thich Nhat Hanh wrote. So if you will join me in a moment of receptivity, if you will, and just make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Jason's going to give me a little tinkling on the keys. This isn't a very long piece. A litany for peace. How grateful I am that we are at peace within ourselves. How grateful I am to know that we accept that we are profoundly loved and need never be afraid. How wonderful it is to know that we are aware of the source of being that is connected to us all and to all living creatures. We are filled with the presence of great compassion towards others and ourselves and all living beings. We realize that we are all nourished from the same source of life. We live so that others be not deprived of air, food, water, shelter, or the chance to live. We know that we ourselves cease to be a cause of suffering to one another. And so it is with humility that we welcome the establishment of peace in our hearts and peace on earth. And so it is.